Now this article is relatively old, nearly 2 years old. I didn't know about it till now, and the only reason why I'm talking about it is because it's so rare I agree with Stephen Hawking. As someone who's made it his hobby to read up on physics pretty much since childhood, I've never liked Stephen Hawking. I've always seen him as a bloviated pseudo-intellectual who people just assume is extremely intelligent because he's crippled. Just because he fits that stereotype of the physically meek but extremely intelligent, generic type. But no, a lot of his theories are just impractical, and he contradicts himself all the time. He was the one that obsessed over black holes, and now he's saying there is no black holes, but that there is black holes. He can't keep his story straight. Now, mind you, I know science is all about debunking things or proving yourself even wrong, but if you're going to devote that much of your life to something, at least stick to your own story. Even if evidence is contrary to what you've discovered, you don't waste your entire life just to prove yourself wrong. That's what I'm saying. Any reasonably intelligent person would know that. Not to spend their whole life pursuing something only to be told something different and just accept that. The same way you came to that one conclusion, you can come to another. So, what I want to talk about here is how Stephen Hawking says, if we don't leave Earth, we're doomed. Now, mind you, that's common sense. By the laws of thermodynamics, the Earth can't last forever. But he gives an exact time frame of about 2 centuries before we're doomed. So that's pretty specific. If he were to just say 10,000, 20,000 years, people would be like, yeah. But 200 years? That's young enough to where we could remember it feasibly. I mean, we probably won't live through it, but our grandkids will. Our grandkids will live through the end of the world. And that's something to think about, because I don't know if I personally agree with that or not. I want to. I want to believe it, but I don't know for certain. Because you'd be surprised what human beings can live through. This brings me to something I wanted to talk about for a very long time. The human organism, the superorganism. The fact that sometimes I wonder if human beings are physical in the sense that we think of it, or are some kind of trans-dimensional psychic being. And by that I mean, how is it possible that a species that can only reproduce once every 9 months, regardless of how many twins or quintuplets or whatever the fuck octomom shit they have, they can only reproduce once every 9 months, how is it that amount is able to transcend the amount of murder, war, sickness, bad shit happening? How mathematically does it make sense that the amount of death is less than the amount of life? That just completely erodes any concept of common mathematics. Because there is no way, given how many people die per minute, per day, can equate to how many people are born per minute, per day. It just doesn't make sense. But yet somehow there are still all these people. So what I think might be the case is a quantum physics fluctuation, the Schrodinger's cat theory, that since mankind is neither living nor dead because no one on the outside is able to observe them as living nor dead, they are just in a presence of gray. They are both living and dead, and that's why people seemingly are numerous, and yet at the same time it makes no sense we should all be fucking dead because, people die every day. Now, this doesn't interfere with individuality. We can be individuals and have our own individual interpretation of reality while simultaneously existing in this quantum fluctuant state. Because, our individuality really isn't all that deep. You think your life is so unique. It's not. You're not a special snowflake. You eat, you sleep, you fuck, you die. That's it. You have your occasional heartbreaks, you have your occasional stresses, and, things like that. But you don't really have individuality. A lot more people have far more in-depth individual perception than you do. Why do you think I'm such a bitch to everybody? Do you think I appear like such a butthurt troll with a huge stick up his ass just because? Have you ever stopped to think about why that is? I mean, yeah, you can assume that I'm just a stressed out individual. Maybe I'm a spaz. Maybe you just don't agree with me. But it's gotta be more than that. It simply just can't be that I'm an asshole, you know? And it comes down to I think about things more than you do. I'm just not content with the fact that moderators are pieces of shit and act like that to me and treat me that way and think they can stomp on my rights that way and that nothing is done about it and nothing will ever be done about it unless I interfere directly. So that makes me have a more deeper perception of what's going on than you do, because you're just content with it and move on with your life because you're content with this gray blob that is your life, that is this stagnant, repugnant ooze that just has no dimension and has no depth to it, and you're just living your life hobbling around waiting to die. That's why religion makes no difference to most of you, because to you it's not about religion. You're just living your life as a cellular organism, a part of the supercell. That's it. You don't have sentience. You are not a living being. I hope I'm bringing something to your attention to either wake you up, or maybe you will drop dead tomorrow. The fact that you are not alive. You are already dead. You're not dead in the sense of you're lifeless. You have a pulse. You have functioning brain, pretty much. But you're dead in the sense you have no greater purpose. You have no greater life in you other than your functionality as an organism. Whereas a lot of creatures are above that. And that's why they continue to live despite nature around them. So what I'm saying here is that human beings are part of a superorganism. We pretty much come to this conclusion one way or another. Now, we have to ask ourselves, can we change the superorganism? Can we change human nature? That is something the right wing will never talk about, because they are the most docile of them all. They are just perfectly content with the way human nature is. As greedy, selfish, egomaniacal, and murderous as it is, they're fine with it. They love it for it. The left wing at least touches the surface of the fact that yes, we might be able to change human nature. And if we can, we should. Partially because it is the progress of science, it is the motivation to discover and to see our limits, and partially because mankind sucks, and it needs a change, regardless of what that change entails. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to say here, is that if you can change humanity, why not do it? Now, the bigger question becomes, how do you change humanity? How do you change the superorganism? Do you just go on a massive killing spree and hope that whatever is left over has a psionic imprint that is different from the last? Or do you go into politics and try to change the demographic and try to direct the masses into a different mind frame? Do you try to increase technology? Do you try to change the environment? I'm sure all these factors play a role in the superorganism, especially environment. I'm sure in an extremely cold climate, people are going to think a little differently than they do in an extreme warm climate. You know, that's just the way things work. That's biology. But is it able to make it into? Is it able to turn a negative into a positive? That's the bigger question. And I believe that it can. I'm not for certain that it can. I guess I more so want to believe that it can. But I have a hunch that you can. I don't know if you can necessarily change it into a positive, but if you can keep on changing it and control it, then by extension it will never be so bad as to just fill you with dread and, you know, worthlessness. You will never be powerless. It is worse to be powerless than to be miserable. I'll put it that way. Because misery will always exist. You will always be uncomfortable. You will always be in pain of some sort. But if you are powerless, then there is no end to it. There is nothing you could do to stop it. There is no hope, and you may as well just put a fucking gun to your head and kill yourself right now. I'm very serious about that. So you cannot live your life thinking that you're powerless, and a lot of you do. That's why you go to work every day. That's why you just do as you're told. That's why even when it comes to a fucking forum, where it shouldn't matter what you say or do, you let people walk all over you because you are powerless. You choose to be powerless, and you like being powerless. You love the fact that you're a fucking nigger with nothing to live for. If you didn't, then why the fuck are you putting up with it? Is it just beyond your nature to go beyond this? And I wanted to talk about something else here, but here I go. Mr. Rebs Zion, if you look him up, he basically looks like and acts like Justin Bieber. I don't like this kid. I don't dislike him because he's mean or because he's a moderator. You know, to my knowledge, he's never banned anybody. I can't say that for certain or not. I'm just assuming because I've never seen him ban anybody. I don't like him because he's this touchy-feely Mickey Mouse Club Christian, and that annoys the shit out of me. It annoys the shit out of me that out of all the time he has to think about the implications of an almighty God, he comes to this conclusion of a tolerant and loving God. The kind that fits just perfectly in with letting mankind continue down its downward spiral. How convenient. He doesn't want to believe in a just God, a vengeful God, a pissed off God. And that's what annoys me about him. It annoys me about most Christians, in fact. The only Christians I really like are Westboro Baptist Church, and even then I disagree with them. I disagree with them philosophically, but at least not morally. I may as well just go there with Westboro Baptist Church versus Jim Prophet. Westboro Baptist Church believes in an almighty God. They believe in an omnipresent, omnipotent God. Jim Prophet doesn't. Jim Prophet does not believe in an all-powerful force. Now you might ask yourself, why would you worship a God that isn't all-powerful? Well, because you are definitely not all-powerful. To say that you shouldn't worship something just because it's not all-powerful is to say that you shouldn't breathe just because having oxygen won't guarantee that you live. That's stupid. The fact that you are so down here and so pathetic and inferior that you'll let a fucking moderator tell you what to do, that's the reason why you should worship God. Not because necessarily it's an all-powerful force, but the fact that if you're willing to let your balls sink in and become this pathetic little boy and let a fucking 16-year-old punk ass online tell you what to do, why won't you let a powerful force that actually has some depth to their mind tell you what to do? And at that, I don't even think God wants to tell you what to do, so much as it's a state of being. It's just a state of life, a state of mind. And you share that state of mind with a like-minded person, I guess you could put it as. And that's the difference. Westboro believes in worship. I believe in idling, just looking up to a father-like figure. Your parents, in theory, you respect your parents, you admire your parents, you want to be as your parents, but you don't worship them. You're not incapable of saying, "You're wrong, Mom and Dad." Maybe a couple of you are because you're pussies and you don't know how to stand up to your parents, but all in all, I would believe that you love your parents because you know they're doing the right thing, you know they have your best interests at heart, but you are a different entity. You are not them, and therefore sometimes you're going to contradict them, or they're going to contradict you. And that's how I view God. Whereas they view God as this force that you have to worship, and any deviation from worship is detrimental to your soul. Another thing is Westboro Baptist Church is fatalist. Jim Prophet is not. Westboro Baptist Church believes that everyone is predestined for heaven or hell, judgment, etc. This is why recently Westboro Baptist Church actually was glad that Obama came in favor of gay marriage, even though they spent their entire lives bashing gays. Why? Because they honestly believe that homosexuals will destroy this country. They believe that homosexuality will degrade any civilization they're a part of. Which is all well and good, but if you hate homosexuality, why would you be glad that it's going to decay your country? Do you want your country to be decayed? I could understand that, but that doesn't seem to be the direction they're taking this. They're not saying, yes, we're glad America is going to be ruled by the rapists and the idiots. What they're saying here is that it was predestined by God. It was pre-planned by God. And that to see it come into fruition in their lifetimes is a glorious experience. And that, to me, it leaves me confounded. Because I do not believe everything is set in stone. I can understand being glad that the American civilization is coming to an end. I can understand being glad to see homosexuality coming to an end. But I cannot understand being glad to see a predestined event coming to fruition, because that is nothing to look forward to. Even if you believe in fatalism, how is that a positive? How is it a positive that everything you do is predetermined, and that whatever sense of choice you have is merely an illusion? It's merely just a reflection of a third party choosing for you, and you just feel like you have a choice in the matter. So that's why I don't agree with Westboro Baptist Church, but at the same time, I greatly admire them, and they're the only ones that get it on some level. And that's the unfortunate thing, because everyone acts like Westboro Baptist Church is just fucking crazy. And you know what? Considering the fact that the source of those that say they're crazy are lying, murderous psychopaths that let a 16-year-old moderator tell them what the fuck to do, it doesn't sound like a very reliable source of judging right and wrong. For them getting on Westboro Baptist Church's cases for, being too objective with morality and always saying, it's not all black and white, it's gray. They sure love to throw the accusations, the insults, the expectations. It's always the moral relativists who want to tell you how to fucking act. And that's what pisses me off. It pisses me off that people don't have any sort of moral objection in their life. They have nothing to live for or pursue. And, then they get on my ass because I fucking refuse to deal with moderators, ever. I am not going to let another human being tell me how to act. I'm not going to let another human being tell me what to think or what I can say. If they think they can, I will hurt them. It is that simple. I will hack their websites. They won't have a website. I will take away their toys. I will take away their money. I will take the shirt off their back. I will humiliate them. I will degrade them. I will pee on them. It is that simple. You don't fuck with me like that. I'm not going to put up with it at all. And that just completely eludes them. It completely eludes them that sort of dignity and pride that might exist in another human being, not to be fucked with. Not asking for fucking miracles here. I'm not trying to cure the sick. I'm not trying to, eliminate all disease. Just don't fuck with me. Just respect my rights as a human being, and I'll respect yours. It's a mutual thing. No, they can't understand that. They're too far gone to understand that, and that's the frightening thing. Frightening and sickening. So, I guess that's really all I have to say. I just wanted to point out how ridiculous modern Christianity has become, and how the only real Christians are very few and far between, and how physics and religion play a similar role. We discuss things, there's a lot of disagreements, and a lot of speculation. But at the end of the day, it comes down to principles. What you believe is the principality of why you're doing what you're doing. Why you're pursuing science, or why you're trying to become a theologian and, interpret religious scripture. Because that's how you live your life. You live your life in self-awareness to everything that's going on. And only a few people really get it, and they are separate from the superorganism, and they're controlling the direction of the superorganism. And the problem is, I don't think a lot of them realize it per se, and the elite that are controlling the superorganism, the Illuminati, they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it to cater to themselves. So you worship them as a god. You know, we worship them like a pharaoh. We do all this work, you know, pillaging away the dirt and fucking slaving away 10 hours a day and shit. For what? To build monuments in their honor. We have this booming economy with fucking technology everywhere, food everywhere, and we're not benefiting from it directly. They are. They have access to everything. We only get access to a little bit of it. And, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. But they have chosen to make it that way because they're the self-aware ones. They're the Jedi. And they're using the Jedi mind tricks to get everyone else to worship them like a pharaoh. And they've figured out that if they don't bring too much attention to themselves, as the kings of old did, they can get away with it a lot better. You know, our empires are really not that much different than empires of the old days. It's just ours are a little bit smarter and know that if they don't bring any attention to themselves, we don't know who to blame, we don't know who to get angry at, and eventually they won't fall because they were never an identity. They were only people living up the life. Nameless, faceless, on some island somewhere enjoying themselves while the rest of us fucking work till we die. That's really what it comes down to. But I wouldn't necessarily say that's smarter in some regards, because what are they living for? You know, sex, drugs, you could do that anyway. You know, a hedonistic lifestyle is no way to live. Not because it isn't comfortable, not because it isn't fun, but because there's no greater purpose. There's no ego to it. You're no more an individual doing that than you would be just slaving away, toiling the fields. You know, the point should be in life not to have fun, but to be somebody, to have that super ego, and to die as an individual, not as an organism. But that concept is lost to people. It's lost to people the idea that you are somebody and not just anybody. So, you think about that. See you later.